we're just going to go public. All right, now we're starting to stream. Says we're live. Why am I still not streaming to my live dashboard? Can you guys see me? Oh, there I am. Hey, I'm on. Freaking hell. All right. I think we may be on. Although I just dropped 1,100 frames in a row. So yeah, this is a good test of the system to see if we actually are going to work. All right. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me? Are you there? Drop frames detected. Your stream quality may be affected. No crap. And we just dropped another 300. Lovely. Ay. Alright, is anyone there? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me? It says I'm public. It says I'm live. YouTube says I'm live. Although I keep buffering like crazy. Yep. Alright, well it keeps buffering on my end, and XSplit keeps telling me I'm dropping frames, so let me know if I'm actually dropping frames on the stream. I am broadcasting live to the public, but I'm going to be taking Q&As from anyone in my Patreon. So if you want to go to the Talking Heads channel on Patreon and start asking me questions, I will answer as honestly as possible. I have no idea if this is recording. Yeah, we're getting some buffering and frame dropping. Yeah, it says I've encoded about 9,000 frames and I've dropped 2,300. So that's not a good ratio, and that's similar to what I've been seeing. Now, to put this in perspective, I normally stream at 4.5 megabit, 1080p, 60 FPS, which is what I'm streaming at now. And normally I can go to YouTube and XSplit, or YouTube and Twitch with those settings simultaneously. I'm only trying YouTube right now. So, and we just went to 2800. All right, we'll drop the bitrate a little bit. God dang it. Alright, let's go to 3,000. Let's see if it can hold 3,000. If it can hold 3,000, I'll be happy. What's 1 plus 1? 1 plus 1 equals 2, Roman. 2 plus 2 is 4. I am keeping up. All-time favorite CPU for overclocking? Let's see. Honestly, it's the Celeron 330, I believe it was. Celeron D330. It was a... Is this the right one? Yeah, it's a 478 socket CPU. It's a 2.6 gigahertz base. You could get 4.2 gigahertz on that chip. Really without much finagling at all. And almost every motherboard back in those days was unlocked for some kind of overclocking. And base clock overclocking worked a lot better back then. So, yeah, that's probably my favorite. I will say I went down to 3 megabit on the stream, and it seems to be holding steady now, so I think we're good. So thank you, Reverend, for that question. While Hops and Brews is typing in, even though he asks me questions all the time, I'm going to make a drink. I feel like an old-fashioned. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's see. Oh, I need a jigger. Alright, if you guys are wondering how I do those nice ice balls, I have a mold for them. It looks kind of like this. And sometimes I put distilled water in there, gets them nice and clear. Most of the time it's just sink water. So, but you get these nice round ice balls, which are very nice. Who is my favorite co-host? Well, John, you seem to be kind of a crowd favorite. Anytime you're on there, I get more comments about, yay, John is online. And ooh, I'm going to stay up late tonight because at Hops and Brews is on the show. So you, I think, are the fan favorite co-host. I will say when Steve comes over, it's a little bit more of a party. We get a little bit more wild and we drink a little bit more. And when Rhett's over, we get a little bit more off topic. So it's not that that's a bad thing. Okay. Is my shaker clogged? Wow, I think there's something jamming my simple syrup. Awesome. Where do we get the ice ball mold? I bought these on Amazon. They were $20 for 4 of them, I believe. I'll see if I can find a link and post that here. Let's see. Who's your favorite Patreon with the last with the letters of MCM XXXV77? I don't have one with those letters. Although you were the first Patreon, so you've got a special place in my heart, Roman. I did not. I answered it. Zima. Oh, what's your least favorite beer? Ooh. I'm not a fan of domestics, and it's not that I'm a beer snob, it's that I honestly just don't enjoy the taste of them. I've talked about this on the show before, that when I was in high school, I had to work in a bottle room. In Oregon, we have a bottle deposit. And as part of that, people bring their cans and bottles back, and they put them in a machine, and it crushes them down, and they go out to recycling. The real problem with that is the smell. Oh my god, the smell of rotting 3-month-old domestic beer and sticky glass embedded into your hands for days. It was just not a good time. So, yeah, my least favorite beer is domestics because I still get sick at the smell of them. And that's not from a beer snobbery perspective, that's from I have really bad memories of domestics in a non-drinking sense perspective. What is my favorite laptop? Honestly, I haven't bought a new laptop in a number of years until I just bought the Dell Inspiron 7353. I wanted to give Ryzen Mobile a shot, and so I bought one of the least expensive laptops that was all metal. That was a big component of it. I wanted a metal body for traveling, and that had a Ryzen 5 2500U. So it's got a Ryzen 5 quad-core 8-thread CPU with Vega 8 graphics. Oh, lovely. Looks like we just dropped a bunch of frames. Again. Oh, Lord. Yep, dropping frames. Dropping frames. Yep. And again, this is all to test my bandwidth because they said they fixed it. Apparently it's not fixed because I still can't stream at a decent frame rate. Tell us how you really feel about your ISP. I want to keep this as PG rated as possible. Honestly, for years they've been great. I had some back and forth with them probably 4 or 5 years ago where I would have issues and then they'd go away, and then 3 months later I'd have issues again and they'd go away. This time the issues just aren't going away, and this has been ongoing for about 2 months now, and it's starting to impact my business, and that's a problem. I actually do make money on YouTube. Not a ton at this point, but I make money on it. Enough to self-sustain the channel at this point, at least. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating when I call in, and the techs isolated my house. I talked about this a little earlier on the show yesterday, but they isolated my house. There's no noise being generated from my house. They go to my main tap. There's no noise being generated by the 2 neighbors' houses that are also on that same tap, and the cable box is in my front yard. They dug and bored me a brand new line under my driveway, so I have brand new cable going from my cable box in my front yard all the way up to my cable modem with nothing in between it. And I'm still dropping frames. So, at 3 megabit, whereas before I could upload at 9 megabit to 2 simultaneous streams and nothing ever went down. So, yeah, that was frustrating. Do you think Reddit needs a username change? No, Reddit is awesome. Reddit is awesome. You'd know that if you were paying attention. So, I've used this rye on the show before. This is a Big Bottom Delta rye is what they call it. It's made here in Hillsboro, Oregon. It is 111 proof. It is a, even for a rye, it's got some bite. So, yeah. What's everyone drinking besides Jeff? I think that's a great question. Those cargo shorts are so 2000. Raul, shut up. I like my cargo shorts. When you're 6'4", you don't get to choose cargo shorts. Cargo shorts get to choose you, and that's because they're the only shorts that are long enough that my knees are at least half covered some of the time. So, let's see. Who is my ISP? I will go ahead and out them. It's Wave Broadband. And they're a fairly large cable provider here on the West Coast. They're up and coming. We used to have a smaller ISP that served us locally, and Wave Broadband came in and bought them. And to Wave's credit, they've actually done a lot of infrastructure upgrades. The problem is, I think my neighborhood just has some really old cabling in it, and that's a lot of my problem. Favorite non-captain character from Star Trek? Ooh. Skull's drinking Templeton Rye. Very nice. I've had that before. Delicious stuff. Favorite non-captain character from Star Trek? I'm going to exclude Worf because in my mind he's the captain of the Defiant. Let's see. Neelix. Neelix actually wasn't a bad character. I kind of liked his inane rambling sometimes and his happy-go-lucky, always wanted to make people happy charm. So Neelix isn't a bad one. You can go Geordi, you can go Data. I always really liked Geordi. I thought I'll probably go Geordi LaForge. Go with the engineer. Tuvix. Where do we ask Q&A questions? Regan, you're in the right place. The Talking Heads channel is where you ask Q&A. Let's see, on the YouTube chat, we've got Guinness, we've got finishing off some Fireball. I tend to avoid Fireball whiskey, mainly because I have problems with some artificial cinnamon flavors. Not necessarily real cinnamon. I love the heck out of real cinnamon, but some of the artificial cinnamon scents or the artificial flavors or essential oil kind of stuff, it actually gives me a pretty bad reaction. It swells my eyes shut and makes my eyes water for days. A lot of those pine cones you get in the malls at Christmas time that are infused with like cinnamon essential oils. I hate shopping at Christmas time because I literally go blind walking down some aisles. It sucks. Rhett says Guinan is the best, and I've kind of got to agree with Guinan. Let's see. All right, we have a 20 Swedish krone donation from Fleshaga? Something like that. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Drake says, holy crap, I thought I was screwed with my lactose intolerance living in Wisconsin, but you have it worse. I'm actually allergic to milk protein. Not necessarily lactose, but the whey that's in milk. So yeah, I've got it pretty bad as well. So, and living in Oregon, we have a lot of dairy in Oregon as well. We've got Tillamook Dairy over there in Tillamook, Oregon. It's a real place with some really fantastic ice cream. Let's see. When can we see you go 1v1 CSGO between me and Steve? We'll have to make that happen before too long. Craft Computing Gaming Tournament happen. We should play the game where we have to look at the screen to kill people. Ooh, Hops and Brews says Quark. Quark is an excellent character for a non-captain. Yeah, Quark's got a special place in my heart, as does Kira. I think Kira is one of the more fantastic first officers in Star Trek. Riker's great, Spock is great, Chakotay, meh, but Kira, I really enjoyed Kira. Let's see. What else we got? Keep them coming, guys. What was the favorite video I made so far? That's actually a really good question. Let's see. There's a couple that I'm really proud of, and a couple of them that didn't get some notoriety. Actually, the Wish.com, as successful as it is, it annoys the crap out of me because I put the least amount of work into that video. That video has less than an hour and a half of production time, and it's my most popular video by a factor of 4. And it beats some other videos out that took a crap ton of effort to produce by literally 1.5 million views. So yeah, I like the Wish.com video, but that was really frustrating when that hit, because that's not what my channel's about. That was just some cutesy little fun video that I put out. Let's see, my favorite video so far. Oh, excuse me. That snuck out of nowhere. Let's see. Honestly, the RGB fan shootout, the part 1 of the RGB fan shootout, that took a lot of work. I was really proud of the production value on that one, and I'm really proud of the results that I got on that one. One of my earlier videos, let's see here. I'm scrolling through because I'm trying to remind myself of all of them. Some of the more off-the-wall things. What can you do with very little parts? One of my favorites was the beat GPU prices with SLI. That one, because I was thinking outside the box, and I tested that video or that concept all the way through and took it as far as I could take it. And I talked about why SLI was a thing and why it's not a thing anymore. And so I really dove deep into the subject. So between that one, diving deep into that subject, and diving deep into SteamOS, those got me some really interesting answers that I didn't know I was looking for. And what's my least favorite video? I have a video that will never see the light of day. I did a full production on a video. I watched it, and I hated it. And it was right in the midst of when I started doing some camera gear upgrades. So, for those who don't know, I started my channel on... I think my camcorder's around here. There it is. I started my channel on this bad boy right here. This is a Canon Vixia HFR 600. Yeah, HFR 600. And I've got a newer 0.43x wide-angle lens, so I could have the camera close enough to me and still get a field of view. But it ended up giving everything a fisheye view. I went out and I bought a Sony NEX5R, and then I bought a couple lenses and a couple adapters to make things work. And that it got me better lens quality, but it didn't improve the codec quality that's on the camera because they used the same codec, which is the AVC HD 25 megabit. So it was 1080p 60, but it was a real low bitrate codec for that. So the color was all washed out. I couldn't grade the color at all. It just wasn't sharp, and there was a lot of noise in that image. So I upgraded to a Sony a6000, and I did a video on the progression of the cameras. I edited the video, and then I sat back and I watched it. And I'll usually watch my videos 4 or 5 times before I post them. And I watched it 4 or 5 times, and the only thought that was in my head is I sound like a sniveling, ungrateful little bitch. Literally the words that I used. Because I was trying to be appreciative to the community for watching and showing the community that I'm giving back by upgrading my own camera gear and spending all this money on camera gear that you guys bought me. And honestly, it just seemed so disingenuous and so ungrateful that that video will never, ever see the light of day. I still plan on doing a video on my camera here eventually. I've done a couple more camera upgrades. I now have a Canon L-series lens on there, and I have a full shoulder rig that we'll be taking to PAX with us. So that might be the perfect opportunity to do that, is maybe just grab my GoPro and film, because the other 3 co-hosts are going to be filming me at PAX. So that might be a good opportunity to give a little walk around just with a GoPro while we're out walking around. So, yeah, my camera video will never see the light of day. Blackbird Gaming on YouTube, $14.99 donation. By the way, if you donate on YouTube, I'll go ahead and answer a question too. Love your content. Just wanted to ask you something about the 2200G system. It's refusing to hold a stable XMP profile. If I go lower than the regular 3000, it's also somewhat unstable. What kit of RAM do you have? That'd be my first question. XMP is an Intel protocol. So on Ryzen systems, what they use is XMP-A. And what AMD did is they reverse engineered XMP for memory modules to make it compatible with AMD systems. It is not actually a sanctioned protocol by most regards. So XMP is more unstable on AMD-based systems than it is on Intel-based systems. I tend to recommend doing a manual overclock on your RAM on Ryzen-based systems. And Ryzen with the Infinity Fabric loves memory speed. The faster you can make your memory go, the better it will be. It doesn't care so much about latency, it cares about megahertz. Whereas Intel is kind of the opposite. It cares way more about latency than it does about raw speed. So I would ask, what kit of RAM do you actually have? And what's the rated speed on it? Is it a 3000 megahertz kit? Is it a 3200 megahertz kit? And on the 2200G, it'll sometimes hit 3466, but I've had a lot more luck with that at 3200. So if you have a kit of 3200 and the XMP is going to 3200, maybe it's unstable there. Maybe you have a 2933 and it's trying to XMP to 3200. That would certainly be unstable. But Ryzen still has some bugs in memory compatibility, so you might just be running into a compatibility issue there. So maybe try downclocking it to 2666 and see if you're stable. So what's my favorite? What's the company I want to work for the most for content creation? First, when will I come to the Northeast? Eventually. The problem is right now there's no events that I have on my radar that are in the Northeast besides PAX East. I may make it out for PAX East next year, but traveling with a crew is insanely expensive. Because not only do I have to buy my own plane ticket, I'd have to buy their plane tickets and their hotel and rental car for a big enough car for all of us, and food and everything else. So I went to QuakeCon by myself, and that was moderately affordable, and we're going to PAX West because I can drive there. But as far as as anything else, it's really expensive to travel with more than one person. What's a company I want to work with the most for content creation? Honestly, anyone who's willing to be on the channel, I'd almost be more than happy to work with. I do have standards as far as I have to like your company first. There's a couple companies that I won't work with. I turn down 2 or 3 requests a day to have things on my channel because I don't believe in them. The number of CD key websites that pop up that sell all these illegitimate CD keys and whatnot that ask me, hey, do a sponsored video. And I actually got one offer that I was flat out insulted by. I'm not going to name the website, but it's a CD key website that some YouTubers have done videos, featured videos for, sponsored videos for. They contacted me and they said, will you do a sponsored video? And I said, I've done some research on your site and I'm not impressed by the number of complaints that I've seen. I said, I'm aware of a couple key services that I would do, and you're not one of them. And they said, are you sure? Because we'll pay you $100 to produce a video for us. And just the sheer audacity that my time to film for an hour and a half and then edit a video is only worth $100. I was shocked and appalled. And yeah, we just dropped some more frames. So, dang it. Let's see. What's my favorite World War II game? Medal of Honor Allied Assault. Because when that came out in, I believe it was 2003, the detail that was in the Normandy landing was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. That was a game that changed war games from that point out. That was the most realistic thing that had ever been out as far as really any war game, but let alone World War II, and let alone a depiction of the Normandy beach landing. So, Medal of Honor Allied Assault. I believe you can get it on Good Old Games. It's about $6. I got another donation. Some more Swedish krones. $50 from Flashaga again. So thank you so much, buddy. Shot. LOL standards. Anyone who gives you $1 a month. Yeah, I do work with you guys. And Drake says, hey, I wanted to say thank you. You recently helped me out with a build and some of my family out with a rough time. We just buried my grandmother on Monday, and after the funeral, we sat and watched. Watched some of my vids. I really appreciate that, man. That's cool. I'm getting used to the fact that people are watching me on a pretty regular basis. I get about roughly 10 to 15,000 views on my channel per day, which to me is still a mind-boggling number, let alone what some of the larger YouTubers get. I can look up numbers, but it's unfathomable to me. 10,000 views is unfathomable to me. The fact that 1.8 million people have watched the Wish.com video is crazy. But I really appreciate that that you're watching my video, and that can be a bonding for you guys. That's so cool, and very sorry for your loss. That's let's see. Favorite armament from World War II? Saw. The squad assault weapon. Yeah, it's got to be that. Let's see. Promote your Patreon during the live stream. Not a bad idea. So right now, this is kind of a Patreon exclusive, where I'm answering questions on the Patreon, although a couple of you have donated money, so I'm more than happy to glance over to the left here. My Patreon, what I do there is it's not really a money-making avenue. I do want a donation there. If you want to give more than $1, you're more than welcome to. But really what I'm asking for is a $1 donation per month. And what I do is I charge for the first video every month that I post. And actually I haven't charged yet because it's been a couple of weeks since I last posted a video, which is really, really peculiar for me, and I'm really surprised no one has noticed that. There is a video going live tomorrow morning, though. Anyway, get onto my Patreon. Donate $1 per month. I charge at the beginning of every month just $1 for whatever video happens to be the first video out. What that gets you access to is my Discord server. And there are some other perks coming along as well. Right now I have some keychains that I'm working on that look something like that. This is not the engraved one. The engraved one should be arriving sometime around Tuesday or Wednesday. But all current Patreons at the end of August are going to get one of these. And it's a nice steel bottle opener that you can keep on your keychain. It's nice and thin, but it does open bottles very, very well. So if you're a Patreon on any level, you'll be getting one of those at the end of August. That'll be moving up to a $10 donation tier. So again, starting to try to generate a little bit of money from it. But really what I want out of you guys is kind of a sense of ownership in the community. If you're paying me $1, you're paying money to be there, and you're more likely to behave yourself. So I don't have to spend all my time modding my Discord. I can spend time interacting with you guys and answering questions. And John and Steve are on there giving homebrew advice, and Rhett's poked in there a couple times to give his 2 cents on gaming and game development, and I'm in there just to strike up conversation. So it really is a good time. We're really forming a good community over there. $1 a month. That's all it is. So seriously, jump on there. Regan, current Patreon, and also donated on YouTube, $5. Steve, thanks for helping with craft, no pun intended. An awesome community. Or thanks for helping craft an awesome community. You helped me when a friend took their when a friend took their life. So, Regan, that's very sorry for your loss. I've had some family member, or not family, but some close friends go through that as well. That's tough, man. And yeah, again, I'm glad we can be there for you. And again, I'm trying to form more of a community, more of a core group that likes what I'm doing and likes to hang around and chat. So yeah, that's it. Let's see. Can we start calling you a live streamer and not a YouTuber? Only a sane and adult live streamer on the platform then. I'm still getting used to being a live streamer. It's weird because I have to strike up conversation with a camera. And have you ever tried to be funny to an empty room? It is not easy. There's no one to laugh but the 3 voices in my head. So, and if only my internet worked, then maybe I could be a live streamer. But no, I do this for the fan interaction, not necessarily because it's my goal to be a live streamer. My goal is to be a YouTuber. My goal is to be someone who does in-depth hardware reviews and can be a source of accurate news. And I want to cut through the bull. You know, it's cool to review the 1080 Ti's, and it's cool to review the Threadripper 2990WXs, and I will do that on this channel eventually, but there will always be a focus on low-end hardware and the off-the-wall stuff, like my sketchy water cooling loop, the AliExpress water cooling, and the knockoff X58 and X79 boards, and the Wish.com orders, and my HP 8300 gaming build with a GT 1030 that cost me $180 or $230. So again, that stuff will always be here because I came up as an average gamer or as a low budget gamer. I've made it here now and I have all these cool things, but at the same time, my mindset's always in the budget. My mindset has always been, well, why did I spend this much to get this, or what's the value per dollar here? Is there a cheaper way to do it? Is there a better way to do it? So that's my goal for this channel. When is the episode 1 pod race returning going to happen? I will have to start scheduling that. Let's see. Tell them to join Discord just to see the shitty memes. Yeah. Yeah, the memes are pretty fantastic. And Becky Poo says her husband's bottle opener keychain recently broke. I don't have that problem with the one that I normally carry, although I'm probably going to swap it out for the craft computing one. This is my favorite bottle opener. This is one from Sierra Nevada, and it's solid steel, and it's about an 1/8 inch thick. It is, let's see, I've got a camera there. It is a thick piece of metal. And I don't remember where I got this or who gave it to me or what event I picked it up at, but that has been on my keychain forever, and that's kind of what inspired me to try to find this bottle opener keychain, because that's one that's slim enough that I can keep on my keychain but still open bottles. And if I'm not going to carry this, I'm not going to sell it, and I'm not going to give it away. It has to be something I'm going to use, which is why I didn't buy the 30-cent aluminum bottle openers that you can get at every convenience store that never work or that cut your hand open when you're trying to use them. This one actually works. So, least favorite internet provider, the one I'm on right now. If I ever feel like heading to Kansas City, we have Google Fiber, first city in the nation. Yep. Yep. So you must live in Google, Kansas, or Topeka. Let's see. I think Becky is the only female on here. No, Sienna, I believe is her name, is another female that's on here, and there's a couple others. I believe Sienna's a female. Yeah, Becky, you're one of the only females in Discord, which is actually pretty accurate because my demographics are 97% male, or 97.5% male and 2.5% female. So I have just around 70 Patreons, I believe, at this point, so I have one female. So, yeah, the metrics are playing themselves out. Let's see. Buffering again. Yeah, I know. Wow, buffered for a while there. Holy crap. Least favorite hard liquor. I do not like tequila. I am not a fan of tequila. I have tried all kinds of tequilas. Just in general, I'm not a fan of the agave flavor. I've tried agave spirits, I've tried tequila, I've tried a whole bunch of different things. In general, I'm not a fan of it. I have had some cocktails where there's tequila in it and it's fine. But a lot of that agave isn't coming out. So yeah, just tequila in general, not a fan. Let's see. Let's see. Least favorite non-alcoholic beverage. Milk? Actually, no, I love milk, and that was the problem. I love milk, and I literally couldn't drink enough of it. And then I drank way too much of it. So, yeah, that was, yeah, milk is one of my favorite non-alcoholic beverages. Least favorite non-alcoholic. I like soda. I like soda a lot. I try not to drink very much of it. I like cranberry juice. I like most other things that you'd mix with liquor. So there's not a lot that I don't like, honestly. I'm pretty, I like most things. I eat most vegetables. There's a couple things that I don't eat. I do not eat mushrooms. I hate mushrooms and I hate pickles. Just about anything else I will eat. Yeah, mushrooms, ugh. I literally almost gagged thinking about mushrooms. It's a texture, it's a taste, it's an everything about them. I don't like them. And pickles, it's all taste. I cannot stand dill, sweet, sandwich, whatever. I hate pickles. So, there you go. Most interesting war I like to study on. It's been a long time since I've been in any kind of school where I had to study a war. I did enjoy really modern history, like 1900 forward, so World War I, World War II, was some really interesting history. That's what I'm most familiar with. Let's see. Becky Pooh says she's a girl and not creeped out. Well, thank you. I appreciate that you're not creeped out, and I'm glad I didn't creep you out. When my hubby and I first started dating, he said that he fell in love because my eyes didn't glaze over when we started to talk geek. That's awesome. My wife is not necessarily a geek. She didn't realize how geeky I was and how much she had absorbed of my geek talk when she was able to start troubleshooting computers for other people. Because she's not a geek. She absolutely didn't grow up with it. Her brother was 4 years behind her and liked computers, but really wasn't in depth into computers until later. So she just never really experienced it beyond like, oh yeah, I can play Nintendo games. And boy, is she in it deep now. We've been married 12 years. So, Let's see. How's the YouTube business been at home with both your family and the amount of space that it takes up? I actually measured the space that it takes up. My current office takes up 173 square feet, and I've really managed to keep most of it contained into here. I do have some boxes that are in the garage that I need to take care of, and I'll be making a pretty significantly sized dump run on Saturday to get rid of a lot of the excess junk that's here. And a lot of that's just clutter that we've gathered from almost 8.5 years of living in this house. So it's time to start cleaning. So the business is continuing to grow. YouTube is continuing to grow. In the history of my channel, I have only lost subscribers 5 days, and they were 5 days in a row, and I started freaking the hell out. But then I realized it was probably a bot purge, and everyone goes through it. But I'm up to 64,000 subscribers, on my way to 65, so yeah, it's continuing to grow. Like I said, the channel at this point is kind of self-sustaining itself. I can afford to keep buying the things that I need to buy for the channel, almost. There's still a couple things that are on my radar that I want to get that I can't afford yet, but yeah. And as far as the family space, it's interesting. I love spending time with my kids. I have 2 daughters, ages 5 and 1, and we spend time together every single day. I try not to let this interfere with my home life too much, although I have a permanent studio space in my home, so it's impossible for it not to interfere. And there's a couple times on the weekends where I'm working on projects and I'm trying to get something done, and the rest of my family will go out to the park, and I'll let them go out, and I have the house to myself to work for a couple hours. So it's a little bit of give and take, but overall it's working pretty well. And for those that didn't catch, I am moving my office. I will be moving upstairs, literally directly above my head, to a 330 square foot office, so almost double the space that I have now. So that'll happen sometime mid-September. I'll be doing that. We have to move a whole bunch of stuff around. And my current office space is going to be transitioned into my wife's sewing space. So, yeah. Let's see. How long have I been streaming for? Don't know. 42 minutes. Wow. This has gone really quick. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Let's see. Favorite item on the Taco Bell menu? Ooh. Honestly, I really liked the potato grillers. They were it had ranch and the potatoes from the breakfast menu, and some kind of a white cheese sauce and some chicken and a couple other things in it. And those were freaking fantastic. And they used to do the happy hour 2 to 4, and they were $1 a piece. And so I'd get those quite a bit when I was going to Taco Bell. I try not to eat there very much anymore, although it's one of the only places I have to eat where I work, so I have to go there occasionally. Let's see. Can I please try to revive those salt damaged cards? Gotta get an old motherboard maybe. So I've tried to do some basic work on the salt damaged cards. In fact, I'll go ahead and grab both of them here. So Regan, I believe it was Regan who asked that. So these are the 2 cards that I was sent. One of them is a GTX 1080. It's an MSI, but it's based on the Founders Edition board, so it's a Founders Edition card. And has an EK water block on it. This one I was sure was gone. Let me see if I can get that in there. This, you can see right down in, oh, I got a good focus. All right. All down through here, that's rust on those screws. If I hold it just like that, you can kind of see it in the angle there. These cards should not have survived. I still don't know the condition of the interior of the block. I need to take it apart still. And then the 780 was even worse. So I got a GTX 1080 and a GTX 780, both with custom full cover water blocks. The 780 is in bad shape. It actually took some hits to the PCB. The PCB is warped and actually split down at the end of the board here. And there's so much rust and corrosion on these screws. And I tried to post with this one, and all I got was a whole bunch of artifacts. So it actually did turn on and try to display something, and in fact, I got to the BIOS, but it is not a stable card at this point. I may try to like desolder and reseat the memory. I don't know if that would possibly help it, but I don't feel like this card is going to be worth any more time or effort. The GTX 1080, however, did post and did make it to the BIOS, and I was able to browse around the BIOS, and there were no artifacts at all, and this stayed running. I have not tried to get this into Windows yet. I want to put this on water before I do. I did try putting a Founders Edition cooler on here. One of the capacitors on the back was too tall, so I guess MSI sourced some different capacitors for their Founders board. And so the Founders-based cooler that I had would not fit over this. But I will be getting this onto water probably next weekend, and I will be trying to do this. So this might be making it into a video. I was going to do a video on the recovery process, but I wanted to just dive in and get it done because these were in bad shape when they arrived to me. So let's see. What's your opinion on portable monitors? Do you use one? I don't use one. I know Asus had a very, very nice one at CES. That was beautiful. It was a 13.3-inch OLED panel that was USB-C powered. That was a beautiful panel, but I believe it was also about $1,000. Like I said, I don't personally use one. I have a laptop with a 1080p screen, 13-inch, and it works just fine. I don't feel lacking for space on that screen. If it was a 1280 by 768 or 1366 768, yeah, we'd have a problem. But honestly, 1080 for my workflow, it's not a big deal. Let's see. I'm going to be getting something from McDonald's. Give me recommendations. You can go the McDouble, but get the Big Mac sauce on it. That's a good one. Let's see. All right, there we go. Other than tech and booze, what subjects do you like talking about? Music. I adore talking about music. Started out as a clarinet player. I played clarinet all the way through high school, took private lessons all the way through high school. Was the first chair, so the lead clarinetist for Western International Band Clinic, WIBIC, that takes place in Seattle, which is basically the best of the best high school musicians from Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, Utah, California. Maybe not California, but Utah. And I was the #1 chair clarinet player there. So I'm pretty good at clarinet. Since high school, I've moved on to playing bass and guitar. I'm not a great guitar player, where I went from probably the top 5% nationally on clarinet. I'm probably in the bottom 40% for guitar. I'd say I'm right around 50% for bass. So I'm decent at bass. I really enjoy playing it, but I'm not nearly as good as I was in high school. Let's see. What else do we have? There we go. Fries, waffle, wavy, plain, or curly. I don't like waffle fries because they cut the roof of my mouth, and I just don't like them. I would say plain. Curly fries. Curly fries. Curly fries are delicious. Let's see. Star Trek or Star Wars? Star Trek, although I do appreciate Star Wars. What kind of music am I into? I am into just about everything. Rachmaninoff to Rammstein, as I say. And literally everything in between. There's really not a genre of music that I don't like, except really, really hardcore rap that is more just about dropping a bass and talking about thug culture. And that's not a racist comment. That's just I don't appreciate that kind of music, that kind of language, etc. But literally any other kind of music, awesome. And we're buffering again. Yay. I will say the drop rate is much lower than it has been, so we're better, but we're not fixed yet. He's going to say Star Trek, I know her. He better. Of course it's Star Trek. Jeez. Right there. Of course it's Star Trek. Let's see. All right, I think I'm all caught up on YouTube comments. I think I'm all caught up on Discord comments. I think we'll go another 22 minutes. That'll make it 10 p.m. That'll make it almost a 90-minute stream. So, favorite pizza toppings. Ooh. I am definitely a Hawaiian fan. I do like pineapple on my pizza. Honestly, what I'm digging right now is I'll do a Hawaiian and I add chicken to it. If they have like strips of just chicken breast. That is a pretty fantastic combo. Because you get pig, you get chicken, and you get pineapple. Great combo. What would I say my favorite bands and artists are? I'm definitely a fan of going back into 70s and 80s music. I like... gosh, trying to throw bands out there. Tell you what, I'll pull up my Plex server, and I'll just kind of tell you what's in my Plex server. There we go. Let's see. I do like a lot of 90s music too. I'm not gonna lie. I like Three Doors Down. I like bands like that. As far as styles of music go, I love male-female harmonies and more of an acoustic harmony. I love that sound. I love it when you can get a really, really tight male-female harmony with just a guitar in the background. A guitar and a bass and maybe a brush drum kit or something. And I don't care what style of music it's in, but those combination of instruments is absolutely beautiful to me. Let's see, I've got some Coldplay and Creedence Clearwater. I've got Chicago. I've got Cheap Trick, so there's my C's. Def Leppard, Diamond Rio, Dire Straits. Dire Straits is probably one of my favorite bands of all time. Just the feeling and the flow and the soul in their music was pretty amazing. Drowning Pool, Eagles, Fall Out Boy, Fleetwood Mac, Foreigner, Garth Brooks. Let's see, Jimmy Buffett, Joan Jett. So and all these are bands that I'm very familiar with and listen to all the time. I mean, that's Creed. Yeah, I'll listen to Creed. Go and watch Stephen Lynch's most recent special, Hello Kalamazoo. He does a phenomenal Creed impression, and it gives my feelings on Creed. Let's see. What's my Wi-Fi password? You'll never hack it, so don't worry about it. Let's see. Favorite classic book? Honestly, I'm not much of a reader. There was a set of novels that I read probably middle school and high school, and it was The Dragons of Pern. And it was obviously it's a fantasy story about basically dragon riders. That's one of the fantasy books that I remember the most that wasn't like a Star Trek fictionalization or anything like that. I've read a couple John Grisham novels. I've read a couple of things, but day in, day out, I'm not much of a reader. If I'm going to be reading, I tend not to lose myself in fantasy. I tend to read informational things so I can talk about them or not even talk about them, just stay informed about things. So I'm more likely to read an Intel press release than I am to read another John Grisham novel. So it's just what I find enjoying or enjoyful. It's just what gosh, how do I phrase that? It's just what I like, damn it. All right. Found out yesterday that the drummer from Fleetwood Mac was one of the fish dudes in Star Trek episode Manhunt. That's awesome. Do you listen to Creed from The Office? I don't listen to Creed in The Office too much. Typically, if I have headphones in, it's a variety of music. Imagine Dragons is one that I'm really enjoying listening to right now. My Z car has a hell of a stereo in it, and honestly, their Evolve album sounds freaking amazing in it. So if I'm driving home from work and I want to crank something up that's got a lot of bass in it, Imagine Dragons, I don't know why. I don't know why, but I guess it's got something to do with you. Yeah, so. What level are you in D&D? I haven't played D&D for 15 years, so I couldn't tell you. Craft Computing Minecraft server when? I don't plan on hosting one. Let's see, who's pinging me? Yeah, it's been way too long since I played D&D. I know most of the community's onto Pathfinder now, and I don't know where the rest of them went, because I guess 4.0 sucked. So, I am in the loop about some things, but yeah. Drake over on YouTube loves the Pern series. Yeah, that's probably the one that's most vivid. I read the most books out of that series in. Although favorite Star Trek series of books is Star Trek Dominion War. It was a series of 4 books, and it was basically Next Generation and DS9 both competing in the Dominion War. And book 1 and 3 were the Enterprise, and book 2 and 4 were DS9. And the basis of the story was it took place that Picard and Ro Laren were going undercover to try to go into Dominion territory to rescue a bunch of slaves who were working on an artificial wormhole to bring reinforcements from the Gamma Quadrant. So both crews were working on this separate from each other, but had the same objective in mind. And both the books came together in book 4, or all the books came together in book 4, and made one a hell of a story. So yeah, if you want to read a really, really good series of Star Trek books, Star Trek Dominion War. Let's see. Pathfinder's amazing. 7-year-old daughter's currently obsessed with Imagine Dragons. Yeah, my 5-year-old loves... number one, I have a 350Z Roadster, so it's a convertible. My daughter loves taking the top down any time of year, any weather, any temperature. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter. She wants the top down. And it's absolutely hilarious to me. There's 2 things that she loves to listen to in the car. Number 1 is Imagine Dragons, because she loves the bass and the feel and the flow of that music. And number 2 is... gosh, what is the name of that song? Shortchange Hero by The Heavy. She loves that song, so she will ask me to play that song, and she goes, "What's the song about?" And I told her it's a cowboy song because it's from The Hateful Eight. Now, she hasn't seen that movie, quite obviously, but this ain't no place for no hero. She goes, "What's the song about?" "Oh, it's about a cowboy." Let's see. Favorite non-PC video game? Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption, full stop. It's the only reason I still have an Xbox 360. I usually try to play it about once a year. Oh, that was tasty. Let's see here. We'll finish the night with a little monkey shoulder. Not. Just so I don't piss off any Scotch purists. Apparently I need to buy some more monkey shoulder. There we go. There we go. And there we go. All right. DC or Marvel? Marvel. All right. So I'm trying not to offend the Scotch purists here. I do like drinking whiskey on the rocks. Sometimes it's straight, sometimes not. If you like my channel and you like the drinks that I make and whatnot, you'll like my philosophy on drinking. And I got my philosophy on drinking from the Whiskey Tribe, which is a phenomenal YouTube channel. You should go and check them out. The Psalm and the Mooch. So they have a saying, and that is, they ask, what is the best whiskey to drink? And a lot of people will go, oh, Johnny Walker Blue, or this or that, or oh, it's got to be a single malt Scotch, or it's got to be this. And the answer is the whiskey that you like to drink. It doesn't matter what you're drinking. If you enjoy the craft, then that's fine. You're welcome, and you're welcome to drink it. What's the best way to drink whiskey? Oh, you have to drink it neat. You absolutely have to drink it neat. Whiskey and water, whiskey on the rocks, whiskey in a cocktail, the Scotch, but Scotch straight, not Scotch in a cocktail. The answer is the way you like to drink it. And so it's this completely non-snobbish philosophy to drink whiskey, to share whiskey, to get other people enthusiastic about whiskey, or drinking in general. That they're all about whiskey, but I take that same thing in general. If you want to order a Cosmo at a bar, order a Cosmo at a bar. You'll get no judgment from me. It's whatever you feel like drinking. So, and to that, little monkey shoulder, neat. Oh yeah, that's good. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and go on the rock. There we go. It's been a hot day, so I want a cold drink. Good night, Becky Pooh, and thank you for joining. She says good night, and thanks for all the fun. Let's see. Goku versus Superman. DBZ versus DC. Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to pass on that one, John. I don't know. What's the most defining moment of World War II? The moment that Germany stopped advancing. The moment that they said, you know what, maybe the British are planning something, and we need to stop bombing them. The British were days away from surrender, and Germany stopped advancing, and Germany stopped bombing. And they turned their attention towards Russia. And that gave, and at the same time, Japan happened to be bombing the U.S., so all of a sudden the U.S. joined the war on two fronts, and now all of a sudden Germany wasn't looking over their back shoulder when they should have, so... Yeah, really, Germany should have honestly put their boot down on Great Britain, and a lot of people would be speaking German today. But that didn't happen. So, and thankfully that didn't happen. Feelings on history in education. Education of history or history in education? Not quite sure what you mean there. Drake, taste is subjective, so drinking is never how someone else likes it, and the way it should be. Exactly. Smell is the one thing, the one sense in your body. So you've got touch, you've got hearing, you've got sight, you've got all that. smell is the one that bypasses the logical part of your brain, the analysis part of your brain, and goes straight towards memory and cognitive thinking. And so you can smell a smell you haven't smelled for years. Like, you can smell a perfume and start looking for the person wearing that perfume subconsciously. You don't know that you're looking for them until your logical part of the brain kicks in and goes, wait, where have I smelled that before? And so when you're drinking whiskey, your interpretation of whiskey is your interpretation of whiskey alone. Now, there's some shared things that we can talk about. We can say, oh, there's notes, there's some real oaky notes in there, and I can really taste the peat in that. And there's little hints of butterscotch, or there's this or there's that. And you can talk about those things, but your interpretation of what's in this glass is going to be different than my interpretation from what's in this glass. So... oh, that needed a rock. Oh, that's good now. Yes. It's exactly what that needed. Okay. How is my night going? My night's going pretty well. Actually, I forgot to hit render on my video here. Export. I just realized I forgot to hit export. It was going really well until I realized I forgot to hit export. Night's going pretty well. Got my video finished editing so far, or it's rendering in the background now. Let's see, I was meaning to get this video published on Tuesday in front of the live show, in front of the Wednesday night live show. I sat down to edit it, and about half of my video recordings were corrupt. One of them irretrievably so. And so I had to reshoot my first impressions of this chair that I'm sitting in. I had the audio was desynced because the video scrambled, and the checksum read 34 minutes, even though the video was only 23 minutes long. There were a number of problems with the editing of this video. So this video took a day to shoot, but 3 days to edit. And so it's finally rendering now. I think we're past all of it. I think I'll have a good video to post in the morning. Adamantium or vibranium? Ooh. Ooh. I'm going to go vibranium because I think it has more practical uses. And by practical, I mean you can actually put it in someone without killing him that's not Wolverine. Favorite Italian tank pre-1950. We're getting a little too specific here. Remember, I haven't been in school in 15, 16 years-ish? 15 years? So, yeah, we're getting a little too specific for for my knowledge on those. Education on history of the world. I think, in most cases, victors write the history. You never hear history from a losing perspective. And you only hear history that serves the agenda of the hosting country that's teaching it to you. So I think we can go a long way in becoming more objective when teaching world history, and not being so dang political about teaching history. There are some atrocities that need to be taught, so they won't be repeated. That's the whole purpose of memory. That's the whole reason that we write things down, is so we can learn to do things better and not do the bad things again. And time again, we end up doing the bad things again. So I don't think the teaching of history in general is bad. I think we could be a lot less political with it, and we could be a lot more open with what has happened and what we want to be, not what we have been. So, I know I got really deep on that question, but LG or Samsung phones? Samsung. LG, I have some real questions about quality control. In a number of the LG phones that I've handled and used and whatnot, they manufactured processes seems to be a matter of pinching pennies rather than producing the best product, where Samsung is more about producing the best product, which used to be what Apple was like, but not so much anymore. But yeah, LG, I'm just overall not a fan of. They're kind of a sub-tier to Samsung to me. So something that is good as well is add a couple drops of water. I have done a couple drops of water, and I actually know why you add a couple drops of water. You add a couple drops of water into some whiskeys, because there are, and we're going to get into a water cooling discussion here before too long, because we'll talk about chemistry of water and whiskey. There are some water-soluble elements that are within whiskey that are suspended in a solution. And if you add a couple drops of water, what that does is it absorbs the water-soluble elements, but it leaves the oils and the non-water-soluble elements floating on top. That's the char from the oak barrels, or the oils that are left over from the aging process. And when you drink the whiskey after adding a couple drops of water, it doesn't dilute it down. It makes it stronger. It makes it much, much more intense. So I'm going to go into the flack that I got from my whiskey cooling video real quick, because people's chemistry is completely off on the chemistry of whiskey. Whiskey, yes, is technically a solution of alcohol and water. There's a certain percentage of ethanol that's produced. There's a certain percentage of water. There's a certain percentage of organic components due to the aging process. I mentioned sugar content as a concern for growth. And people went, well, there's no water in whiskey. It's distilled. Right, it's distilled to make essentially moonshine, but then it's aged for 4, 7, 10, 12, 18, 20 years in a barrel, which has sugar in it. Wood has some sugar in it. There's some chemicals in there that are sugar-like, that are organic material, that can be eaten by organic things. So, yes, while the base process for producing whiskey is to distill it, you distill it to age it in barrels, and then you pour it into bottles. So, there's organic content inside of whiskey, not just ethanol. If it was ethanol, it'd be 95 proof, or 195 proof, and you wouldn't want to drink it. Secondly, I got crap for the temperature at which alcohol boils. And I made a point that alcohol boils at 78 C. And people went, well, no, your solution won't. It's a solution. So it's a combined temperature of the water and the alcohol. So you'll be closer to like 95 C. That's also not correct, because you can gas off alcohol out of a solution at 60 degrees Celsius. And when I opened that reservoir, there was a noticeable psst from the pressure release. So even after running that loop for 2.5 days, there was pressure built up in that loop on the magnitude of probably a PSI or 2, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a lot. A couple PSI of pressure in a closed loop system is a heck of a lot of pressure. But alcohol will start to burn off at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 60 degrees Celsius, 60, 65. At that, and your PC components more than adequately produce that temperature. And so, yes, you will start to off-gas the whiskey and the straight ethanol out of that. You're redistilling it at 65 degrees. Yes, the entire solution will boil at 95 or whatever the combined boiling temperature is, but the alcohol itself will all boil off at 78. While it's a solution, they're still separately components of that same solution. So it is possible to outgas the whiskey and leave the other liquid behind. So I'm not new to this. Come on, John. I'm not answering that on stream. Any chance you'll ever do a gaming event or even a video with patrons? We're talking well in the future. I'm sure I'm going to host an event at some point. The problem is getting the financing to do all that. And is that the best place to put my financing right now? Honestly, right now, if I were to get a whole bunch of money, I'd be paying off my personal debt so I could get closer to being able to do this full time. I've got credit cards, I've got house payments, I've got car payments, I've got the things that everyone else deals with, but I'm also trying to not only work full-time, but start up a full-time side business, which is nights and weekends. So right now, I've only got 64,000 subscribers. It sounds like a lot, and it's a lot to me. But at the same time, are they all in one place? Would they all be willing to travel to one place to see Jeff? Probably not. There's a couple of you crazy people, the 67 some odd people on Patreon, who would be willing to fly out to see me, but probably only 5 of you would be. And that's not worth hosting an event. So yeah, I do plan on doing an event, but you look at Linus Tech Tips. Linus Tech Tips has, what, 6 million subscribers? He got like 6,000, 5,000 people to LTX, and it's a one-day event. So you've got to be a hell of a lot bigger than me to host an event. As far as doing a video with patrons, it's always a possibility. The problem is you guys don't live close to me. I live in kind of a, I'm not going to say isolated, but a much smaller region of the country that not a lot of people live in. I know I've got 1 or 2 patrons in Seattle. I've got a couple in California, and that's it. And those are still multiple hundreds of miles away from me. Regan, cruise control or nah, auto or stick? Both of my cars are stick. I have a Nissan 350Z 2004 Roadster Touring Edition, and that is a 6-speed manual. I also have a 2013 Nissan Frontier Pro 4X, which is also a 6-speed manual. So I am all about the manual. I do cruise control, but it's mostly because in my commute, I drive about 30 miles one direction. And about 17 of that is a straight highway, where I get on the highway and it's just... And so I'll get on the highway, I set it at 62, and I just cruise on to work. So I do greatly value cruise control, but I also greatly value a manual transmission. Now, that being said, you get me like one of the new Dodge Demons with an 8-speed or with an 8-speed automatic. Dude, those are freaking sweet too. So let's see. And Craft Computing is reminding me it is 10 p.m. So, Does Surveyor just donated $2 over on YouTube, so thank you so much. Am I announcing the Craft Computing computer spirit lines? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I have twice the FPS of most streams, by the way. You stream via bitrate, and so I'm broadcasting at 30 megabit bitrate. Or 3 megabit bitrate, excuse me. Whether I'm broadcasting at 30 or at 60, it doesn't matter because my bitrate, which is megabit per second, is still the same. My unit of time doesn't change. So whether I was broadcasting in 30 or in 60, my lag would be, or my dropped frames would be essentially the same. I will say we are doing better than we've been doing in days past. I encoded 277,000 packets and I dropped 6,600 or 6,600 frames. The problem is 6,600 frames at 60 FPS is a couple of minutes is 110 seconds of drop time. So almost 2 full minutes of drop time in 90 minutes. And that's unacceptable to me. So I will certainly be following up with my cable company tomorrow to find out how they're going to fix this. Because they need to fix this. By events, I mean playing a game with us over the net. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. I would love to join a stream sometime. The problem is... right now, I don't even have time to play games by myself right now. I get maybe an hour or 2 per week, and it's usually to try something that I haven't tried before. Because there are games that I like to play. I play Skyrim, I play Fallout, I've played all the Bethesda games. I've done Far Cry 5, I've done GTA 5, I've done Metro Last Light, Rise of the Tomb Raider. I've played all the main games. I really want to get into... For Kingdom, or whatever the new... Now I'm drawing a blank. Not For Honor, or Your Honor, or whatever the hell that Ubisoft piece of garbage was. Kingdom Come Deliverance. I want to get into that one. I want to see what that one's all about. I'd love to try the new No Man's Sky next patch that was just out. Try the multiplayer patch on that, but most of the time, if I'm getting into a game now, it's because I haven't played the game before, and I'm more a single-player game than I am a multiplayer gamer. So, yeah. Kingdom Come Deliverance, thank you. Yeah, I beat you to it, for the record. Let's see. Patreon online meetup sometime would be cool. That would be cool. So, anyway, it's 10 o'clock. I gotta work tomorrow. I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you. This was fun. I've never really carried a live stream by myself before. It's a little more awkward to be the only one on camera, to have no one to bounce the conversation off of, and to feel like I have to talk the whole time. But thank you for keeping it interesting, and thank you for some pretty darn good questions in there. Reverend says he drives up to Idaho sometimes. Well, you're only 8 hours away from me then. It's better than the 12 hours you are away now, because I've driven to LA. So, but no, this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. Even if this was just an excuse to test my ISP, this was a lot of fun. So I'm gonna hit the hay. And on YouTube, thank you guys so much for your donations. Thank you, Patreons, for your continued patronage on the channel. Again, if you want to get into the Patreon and get these kind of interactions on a daily basis, I'm in the Discord chat every single day. It pings my phone whenever there's a new message, so I'm constantly on there. $1 a month is all it takes. And if you want to donate more, please donate more. Every dollar that I make literally goes right back into content, or goes into keeping my lights on, or paying off my personal debt so I can continue to do this more. This isn't some money-making scheme for me. This is just something that I enjoy doing. And if you sign up before August 31st, you'll get a bottle opener, a custom bottle opener with Craft Computing logo on it. I'm going to send that worldwide. I'm going to try to do it free international shipping. It all depends on where you live. Some of those I can send for less than $1. If it's going to be more than $1, I'll talk to you personally. But if you're on Patreon and you haven't updated your address for the tier, make sure you get on to do that. It's in the same reward tier that your Discord chat is in. Make sure you update your shipping address so I can send you one of these as soon as they come in. My wife's going to love stuffing envelopes for the next couple of weeks. So, am I excited? AMD is starting to get competitive, and probably what's going to be the last question of the night. Hell yes. Competition is good for everyone. Competition is good for the health of the marketplace. Look at what Intel did over the last 10 years and why Intel is all of a sudden stagnant over the last 4, because they cannot shrink their die any further. There was no one pushing them to be better. There was no one pushing them to say, oh, we have to stay in front of the curve, otherwise AMD is going to catch us. AMD caught them and caught Intel with their pants down, and they've got nowhere to go at this point. So it's going to be 3 years before Intel is competitive again. And I call March at the time that AMD passes Intel for performance and for performance per dollar. They're going to pass them in both ways. And they're going to pass them across the board. It's going to be from the budget systems all the way up through server systems. AMD EPYC is looking pretty freaking sweet. Competition is good for me as a YouTuber because I don't always have to talk Intel or always have to talk NVIDIA. I can start to talk AMD. I can start to build with more parts. I can get into more fights where instead of should you buy an i3-8100 or an i3-8400, I can talk about what's better, a Ryzen 5 2600 or an Intel 8600K. I can get into those fights. It's more interesting from a media perspective. It's more interesting from a journalistic perspective. It's better for a consumer because prices go down. Someone pointed out, I believe it was on Reddit today, that 16 months ago, a 6900K, which was the only consumer-level 8-core processor, was $1,000. Today, you can get a Ryzen 7 1700 for $180. Almost the same exact power. Almost the same exact performance. $180. That's what competition does to the marketplace. So if you're a fanboy, get off your damn fanboy wagon. And competition is good. And it's good to build with different things. And you can like a company that's more than fine, but don't think the other company is just inherently crap or is always going to produce crap. Competition is good for everyone, and it pushes everyone to be better. So, and I think that's a phenomenal question to end with. So, thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been Captain's Log Supplemental of Talking Heads episode 45. I'm Jeff, and as always, I will see you in the next one.